While scouring the north end of Boston, searching for a troublesome raider leader named Slab, Ricky came upon an old building under siege by the boss's raider gang. After taking them out and entering the rather unassuming building, it soon became abundantly clear that this was the art gallery of the psychotic painter Pickman. Ricky had heard of this Pickman before, how he uses the remains of his victims to create art pieces. Ricky honestly thinks he has a cool style, but all of Pickman's victims are raiders, which puts Ricky and his friends as targets for the psycho. It seems that Slab's gang was searching the building to find Pickman and take him down, but as soon as they saw the overboss of Nuka World show up, they attacked. Ricky took them out and explored the art gallery, which also seemed to be Pickman's home. Among the art pieces and traps to keep invaders out, Ricky found a safe containing the diary of this madman. In it, Pickman described his grand designs to wipe out the various factions of the Commonwealth by way of high-powered explosives. Pickman admits these plans are far too great for him to pursue on his own, but perhaps some industrious individual could make these ideas a reality. Imagine if one man could single-handedly take out all opposing factions, all of his competition. The Commonwealth would be his to rule. But for now, the raiders downstairs had breached the door to the lower levels, where Pickman was hiding out. Ricky carefully made his way through the tunnels until he reached the room where Slab and the raiders were confronting the madman himself.
You can hunt and torture our people to your heart's content. I'm gonna enjoy killing you.
Ricky took out his main target, the leader Slab, and his entourage, leaving Pickman left to deal with.
Those people deserve worse than that.
Maybe you deserve the same.
So saith one born killer to another. Regardless, I pay my debts.
He was thankful for the help, offering a knife as a gift to be found upstairs. But this left Ricky in a delicate situation. Pickman either didn't know Ricky was a raider and would eventually find out, or already knew and was biding his time to strike. Ricky didn't like either option here, so he decided to play it safe and take out Pickman himself. With one more threat in the Commonwealth taken care of, Ricky made his way back to the gallery to claim the prize hidden behind a painting. Inside is Pickman's blade, which has the legendary effect of making people bleed. I would think all knives did that, but whatever. But with another problem taken care of, Ricky could continue his quest of wasteland domination. Along the way, he came across 2 quantum death claws on a roof, which I didn't even realize was an enemy type in the game. Apparently this is cut content, so I'm not sure what mod I have that makes these possible to spawn. Anyway, after this, Ricky went to the Boston Common, the home of one of the most dangerous and scary creatures in the whole Commonwealth. Swan. A super mutant behemoth living in the Swan Pond. So deadly that every wastelander knows to avoid the area and he's dead. Yeah, the problem solver solves problems. This was merely a pit stop on the way to Park Street Station, the home of the gangsters led by Skinny Malone. He was becoming more of a nuisance for Ricky, causing trouble for him and his gangs in the downtown area, so it was high time for Ricky to deal with this problem. Permanently. Inside Park Street subway station lies a well-fortified vault, but the triggermen are very easy to deal with. For fun, Ricky learned how to intimidate his enemies to make them stop fighting, which is pretty cool. Also, side note here, I turned the difficulty up to hard because the combat here was getting mind-numbingly easy. Yes, I've been playing on normal difficulty this whole time. Look, I considered playing on survival for this run, but for the sake of making a video, it's just less of a hassle to playing on a non-survival difficulty, so, okay. Anyway, I'll just say combat's gonna be a bit more engaging and challenging for me now. But inside the vault, Ricky found this detective.
Ah, my knight in shining armor. Question is, why does he come all this way and risk life and limb? An old private eye.
I don't know, it seemed like you needed help.
Well, thanks.
Ricky cleared through the enemies all while Nick went on and on about his detective work. But upon reaching Skinny Malone, Ricky used his charm to convince Darla to turn on the big boss. Skinny's no good for you, Darla. You put a bullet in him, and I just might let you go.
What?
This worked, but as Ricky shot at the others, she died because it turns out explosive rounds explode. After leaving the underground, Nick said he's on his way back to Diamond City, where his home and office are located. He offered Ricky his services should he ever need them, and while Ricky doesn't need a detective at the moment, who knows? Maybe in the near future he may. But while working that plan out, he decided to finally do that quest for Ada, the robot he found in the last episode who's been following him around ever since. It was something about the Mechanist, some mysterious individual sending out deadly robots into the wasteland, wreaking havoc. The first stop was the General Atomics factory. Pretty simple gig here, just fight the robots and then make the boss robot explode with wall hacks. Ricky then spoke with Ada and learned that the lead robot had a radar beacon that can be used to discover the location of the Mechanist. Also while in here, Ricky learned how to be a maid robot. Back at base, Ricky installed the part to upgrade Ada. Also, since he'd be fighting more robots in the near future, Ricky figured it would be a good idea to build a new Assaultron to help with the upcoming battles, and he gave her a funny name. This led to a big battle with Mechanist robots, pack members, random settlers, and now Ricky. Ultimately, this led to the discovery that Ricky would have to take on a base of raiders known as the Rust Devils. Ricky had heard of this gang. They scrap and use robots to do their raider business, which is honestly pretty cool. But an alliance with them is out of the picture, which means they're next on the chopping block. They make their base in an old military satellite array in Fort Hagen, so that was Ricky's next target. Along the way, he found this cool shack with makeshift rockets. But as for actually dealing with the Rust Devils, it was pretty easy since Ricky can just hack their robots. Deep inside the base, Ricky saw the robo-brain he was looking for, guarded by a sleeping sentry bot, so he placed down some plasma mines on the floor. It's a surprise tool that will help us later. But speaking of the robo-brain, he found out her name is Jezebel, and she's one of the robots who does the Mechanist dirty work. She revealed that she could share information to help Ricky get to the Mechanist if he helps her get out of here. Ricky agreed, but as soon as he grabbed her head, the sentry bot awoke. The bot, named Ahab, barely got any shots off before running over the mines and blowing up. This is why you plan ahead, kids. In the next room, Ricky spent a little too long playing a cool holotape game before clearing through the rest of the Rust Devils. Ricky then made it to the top, where the raider leader Ivy and an Assaultron succubus were waiting. Assaultron succubus, now that's something I didn't know I needed. Thankfully, it's fairly easy to turn this robot against her master for an easy win and get this cool power armor and Tesla gun. And at the end, Ricky grabbed a salvaged Assaultron head, which is actually a pretty terrible weapon since it irradiates you every time you use it, but it's a cool concept. Outside, Ricky flirted a little with Ada. Your personality defines you as a person. Never let that go.
You're right.
Then he went home to build Jezebel a new body, and despite making the most perfect robot form possible, she still didn't like it.
This body you've selected for me isn't quite what I had envisioned, but it will have to suffice.
But she told Ricky all the information he would need to both find and infiltrate the Mechanist lair. She also revealed that the Mechanist ordered her to help the people of the Commonwealth, and the robots decided the best way to help people is by killing them. Who knew Ricky had been helping people all this time? Anyway, now Ricky and the gang were off to the Mechanist lair, which is located in an old Robco store. This location was actually a front for a military facility with an overly complex secret door. Another side note, I love this dungeon. It has a cool design, tons of loot, enemies to fight, and you have all these cool set pieces. Upon entering, Ricky was careful to avoid the laser tripwires, but McCready messed things up and activated them. Ricky quickly hacked the terminal to shut down security, and there was another terminal in this room next to an elevator that leads to the control center. It was tough to crack, but unlocking it didn't open the door. It would need the voice authorization of 3 facility managers. Well, they're more than likely dead, but perhaps there may yet be another way to activate this elevator. One of the Mechanist iBots appeared to deliver a message. The Mechanist called Ricky the Scourge of the Commonwealth, which, to be completely honest, he kind of is. But from here on out, it was pretty straightforward. Fight robots, hack robots, pick up all the junk in sight. He did come across the lead engineer's holotape, which Ricky realized he could use for the voice authorization. However, he would need to find 2 more holotapes from the other managers for this to work. As Ricky made his way through the facility, the Mechanist left more messages, each more desperate than the last. Ricky found the facilities director holotape, and now he had 2 of the 3 he needed. As he explored further, he realized this building was used before the war to harvest prisoners' brains to put into robots. This led to the creation of the Robo-Brain. Needless to say, things didn't go very well. But in this section, Ricky found the chief scientist holotape, the last one he would need. He approached the final room where it seemed like the Mechanist wanted a big final battle, but Ricky had other plans. He ran back through the facility to the terminal and loaded each recording into the voice authorization system. Once all 3 were scanned, the elevator opened. This went right down into the Mechanist sanctum, much to the surprise of the Mechanist herself.
Impossible! I control all points of access to this room.
Well, obviously, you don't.
A regretful miscalculation.
Oh, yeah, the Mechanist is a girl. It's supposed to be a big reveal, but it's not that crazy. Also, it turns out she's an idiot who didn't think to check if the robots were killing people or not. So she's smart enough to build and program an entire robot army, but not smart enough to just look outside. But apparently she did genuinely want to help the people of the Commonwealth, but if anything, that only made Ricky respect her less.
This doesn't have to end in violence.
That's where you're wrong, Mechanist. The only way this ends is with violence.
Why did I have a feeling you'd say that?
He finally used that alien gun he'd been carrying around because why not, honestly? Now the Mechanist is dead and Ricky is in control of the facility. A secret underground bunker like this could be used for a lot of fun ideas. I have plans that I cannot share with you right now, because the haters will sabotage me. Ricky spoke with Ada about how she feels now that she's gotten revenge for her friends, but unfortunately this doesn't unlock the option to romance her because Todd Howard didn't have the balls to do it. Until Fallout 76, that is. Also, now that he has all the robot mods unlocked, he made some modifications to his other assault run companion to give her a more dangerous raider vibe. But after taking out the Mechanist, Ricky realized that taking out one person is easy. Wiping out all the other factions, however, wouldn't be so simple. With them, he can't just barge in with his goon squad like a raider. He would need to be smart and infiltrate the factions to take them out from the inside. And Ricky decided the best place to start would be the Brotherhood of Steel. He had seen them fighting ghouls in Cambridge before, but steered clear to avoid any altercations. But now he would need to approach them, to learn more about their faction. But to do this, he would need to assume a new identity. It's time for Ricky the Raider to become Randy, the regular guy. Yeah, it's pretty shocking how much a shave and a haircut can change things. And since he's going undercover, this means Ricky needs to part with his current squad. He told Gage to head back to Nuka World to keep an eye on things there, 16-9R to guard the home front, and asked McCready to leave simply because he was getting annoying. But as for Strong the Super Mutant, Ricky gave him the important role of maintaining Abernathy Farm, which produces all the fertilizer needed for his jet business. Since the farm has been growing so large, Ricky needs someone to manage it for him, so Strong is now the mayor of this settlement, with his own decorated office. So now it will just be Randy, and Ada adventuring together. Not that he minds getting some alone time with her, but the two of them made their way to Cambridge Police Station, where he met Paladin Dance, Scribe Halen, and Knight Reese. They're soldiers in a greater army, but they need a certain transmitter to contact the full Brotherhood force, so Randy offered to help them.
Now why don't you run off and see if Top needs you to do anything else?
Paladin Dance does his cool helmet flip, and the two of them head out to find the tech thing that they need. Overall, it was a fairly boring walk, but they ran into McCready of all people, so that was interesting. But soon enough, they made it to ArcJet Systems, a building where a company before the war was working on space rockets. The place was infested with synths, and Ricky showed off a few times while scouring the place for all the junk he could carry. I mean all the junk Ada could carry. But to speed things along, Dance was trapped in a room with a bunch of synths, and then Ricky pushed this button to activate the rocket, which blasted them all away and left him with a ton of free fusion cells. I'm sure Dance is fine, don't worry about him. But then he got the thing, went outside, Dance gave him a weapon he'll never use, and then he asked if Randy would join the Brotherhood. He accepted, but without sharing the motivations behind his decision. So Randy is now a member of the Brotherhood, who have no idea they just allowed the most cunning raider in the Commonwealth into their ranks. But the Institute is still a mystery, and definitely still a threat, so Ricky sought out the Railroad to learn more. He followed the Freedom Trail, which literally leads right to their secret base, and the password to get into the Railroad is Railroad. Like, seriously? The faction all about spycraft and espionage has their secret password as their name? How dumb are they, really? Anyway, Randy met Desdemona, the leader of this faction. Now, he probably could have just gunned them all down right here, but instead he spoke to them in the hopes that they could help him learn more about the Institute. To get inside their base, Randy would need to run a job with Deacon, who also likes to pretend to be somebody else.
Let me break it down for you.
Randy and Deacon met up outside the Railroad's old base in Lexington. While scouting out the place, Ricky met... Ricky? He was kinda rude, but apparently important for the mission, according to Deacon. But still, there can be only one. So Randy and Deacon entered the base through the escape tunnel, and Deacon revealed that they were looking for some prototype tech that was left behind there. The base that the Railroad was using before the Institute found them was actually a pre-war secret government intelligence facility, so that's neat, I guess. They fought through some synths and found the thingy, and Deacon gave Ricky one of the few guns in Fallout 4 that doesn't look terrible because it's based off a real-life weapon and not an amalgamation of vaguely gun-looking parts. Randy returned to the Railroad base and decided to join them in the hopes that they could tell him more about the Institute. But it turns out they only really care about helping synths and know nothing of the Institute's location. But he went inside their base anyway, and hello, beautiful.
I was, am, and will most likely be Pam, Predictive Analytic Machine.
Hi, Pam.
Introductory token recognized. Hello.
Randy considered working with this faction in the hopes that they could find a way into the Institute, but after one conversation with this guy, he changed his mind.
Oh, I wasn't aware we were competing for congeniality awards. I thought we were rescuing synths. My mistake.
So the Railroad, to no one's surprise, is useless, but there may still be a way for Ricky to find information about the Institute. Nick Valentine, the detective Ricky rescued by accident, is an Institute synth, so maybe he knows something. Randy made his way back to Diamond City and stopped by the schoolhouse to grab this magazine and convince this guy and this robot to get married. Because that's a completely acceptable thing and not weird, and I don't know what people say it's weird, it's not, it's totally normal. Anyway, Randy went to Valentine's detective agency, and Nick said that he couldn't share anything new about the Institute, but he had heard a rumor that they were involved in something that happened at Vault 111. The very same vault that Ricky killed a dweller from. Perhaps investigating this vault could lead to a discovery about the Institute. Ricky returned to Vault 111, where this all began. Turns out that vault dweller he killed had his wife murdered and his son kidnapped by the Institute. Also, there's a cool weapon down here. Yeah? Get it? It's cool because it freezes people? Yeah. Ricky went back to Nick to discuss this, and he seemed to think that a man named Kellogg could be behind this. He used to live in Diamond City, so Randy and Nick broke into his house. After searching the place, they found a clue that Kellogg is holed up in Fort Hagen. So Ricky set off to the old military base to find the man who could lead him to the Institute. He had to fight through more synths and collect every piece of scrap before coming face to face with the man himself. So where is it? The Institute. How do I get there?
Haven't you been paying attention? You don't find the Institute. The Institute finds you.
Then the two of them fight because this is how the game is hard-coded for progression. Now, you're probably expecting me to say that the problem solver solved this problem, but in fact it was a case where the correct choice was to spray and pray, since this guy can turn invisible. So Kellogg is dead, but reading his terminal revealed that his next assignment was to hunt down a rogue scientist in the glowing sea. Yes, I'm skipping that quest because it's stupid. But upon leaving Fort Hagen, Ricky looked to the sky and saw...
People of the Commonwealth. Do not interfere. Our intentions are peaceful. We are the Brotherhood of Steel.
The Brotherhood of Steel arrived in their big airship, but you know what they say, what goes up? Randy made his way back to the Cambridge police station to meet up with Dance, and the two of them took a ride up to the airship. He then listened to a speech given by Elder Maxon before speaking with him directly.
I care about them, you know. The people of the Commonwealth.
If you cared about them, you'd leave them to their own devices.
Leaving them to their own devices is what reduced this metropolis to ruins in the first place.
Regardless, up here Randy was promoted to Knight, which means he gets his own suit of power armor, to add to his collection of better ones. He did meet the major members of the Brotherhood though, including this British nerd, this lady with no legs, a guy locked in a room which Ricky unlocked to no consequences. Oh, and he had to take a medical exam with this guy.
Have you ever had sexual relations with any species considered non-human?
No, never have. He also made sure to take anything that wasn't nailed down in this thing, because why not? Anyway, after this, Randy was assigned his first real mission, to clear out this island that hasn't loaded in yet. This was pretty simple, honestly. Hop into Vertibird, shoot some mutants, land, shoot more mutants, go inside, shoot more mutants, go downstairs, okay, you get the picture. The next task that Elder Maxon assigned was to find information about the Institute, which was already on the to-do list, so Ricky made use of his new suit of power armor to travel to the glowing sea, now his only lead on how to find the Institute. Along the way, he used his hacking skill to get an Assaultron to follow him around, and she was awesome, killing anything in her path until a Deathclaw got the best of her. Ricky continued on and found some people who are somehow not ghouls despite living in the most irradiated place in the wasteland. But they said that someone came this way and was hiding in a cave nearby. This must be the person Kellogg was tasked with hunting down. Turns out this man, or I guess he used to be a man, is an Institute scientist named Virgil, living in a cave with terrible lighting. He was surprised that Ricky killed Kellogg, but he said that he could help him get into the Institute. But it wouldn't be easy. Ricky would need to first kill a Courser, one of the Institute's elite hunters. Virgil also said something about needing a serum in the Institute in return for helping get inside, and yeah, I'm sure Ricky will remember to do that. But now it was time to do some Courser hunting. The search began at the ruins of the Commonwealth Institute of Technology, where he picked up a signal that led him to an old research company office. Inside, the Courser was clearing through some gunners, and Ricky made his way through the building, taking out the mercs and taking the loot. At the top of the building, the Courser was interrogating some gunners for some door code before Ricky confronted him face to face.
Are you here for the synth?
It's not why I'm here.
If you're not here for the synth, then you're here for me. What do you want?
I'm here to kill you, and take what's inside your head.
That you cannot have.
Now, Coursers are supposed to be difficult enemies who can use stealth boys to turn invisible. But as you should expect by now, the problem solver solves problems. Though Ada's contribution can't be ignored in this fight, to be fair. Ricky then cleared the room and got to take in a nice view of the Boston skyline. He then begrudgingly made his way back to the railroad to get the Courser chip analyzed, which was super boring. The most interesting part was watching the chip vibrate in the decoder doohickey. Then Ricky returned to Virgil, yada yada get the teleporter schematics, yada yada return to the Brotherhood to build the thing, yada yada Maxon yammering about some important mission, yada yada, and oh hey, look at that, Ricky's now in the Institute. Finally, after all this time, he had found them. The elusive Institute. The boogeyman of the Commonwealth, and the greatest threat to Ricky's Raider Empire. Over the loudspeaker, a voice guided Ricky through the Institute, which actually looks kinda nice compared to the Wasteland. But Ricky thinks their decorations could use a bit of Raider flair to spice things up. But then Ricky came face to face with this Kid? What the hell are you doing in there?
Who are you?
Then some old guy walked through a door and said the magic word to make the kid shut up. Turns out he was a robot. Yeah, the Institute is weird. They love to do this thing of replacing people with robots. It's one of the main reasons why Ricky wants to get rid of these guys. Also, now that he knows they're all nerds, he just wants to destroy them even more. But the director, named Father, who may or may not have a god complex, actually welcomed Ricky into the Institute, believing him to be someone who could help them achieve their goals. Ricky played along, introducing himself to everyone while taking all their shiny doodads and admiring their showers, running water, and toilet paper. Yeah, Ricky will be taking a lot of souvenirs from this place. He also got to see how synths are made, so that's neat. But now everything was in place for Ricky to initiate the final phase of his plan. He had infiltrated each of the major factions in the Commonwealth, which meant that he could begin his scheme to destroy them all. And because each faction hates each other and thinks Randy's on their side, when he destroys a faction, the other will think he's still with them, and by the time they realize, it'll be too late. The first target was the Railroad, since they would be the easiest to deal with. He made his way into their HQ, bringing only Ada along since these guys wouldn't be too much effort. While grabbing everything valuable, Ricky honestly considered sparing these guys since there's no way they'll ever pose a threat to his empire, but he figured it was better to be safe than sorry in this case. Ricky found a few good places to plant explosives, but it was going to be difficult to place them without arousing suspicion. So he opted for a different strategy, the direct one. Say it with me now, everyone. The problem solver solves problems. After wiping out all the members present at HQ, Ricky tried to convince Pam to come with him, but she couldn't be persuaded. Deacon also happened to show up late to the party, so Ricky took him out as well. But then it was simply a matter of detonating the explosives and watching the railroad base cave in on itself. So yeah, the railroad is easy, but the next target will be much more difficult. The Brotherhood of Steel and their airship. But as always, Ricky had a plan. He donned his power armor and reported back to Elder Maxon to report his success in infiltrating the Institute. Heading to the Priblin's main deck, and this is where the gas balloons keeping the ship afloat are kept. To take out the airship, Ricky would need to place a bomb on these, but first he set up a private meeting with Elder Maxon. No matter how cool his code is, it couldn't protect him from several bullets to the head. The rest of the Brotherhood immediately noticed something was wrong, and Ricky took advantage of this by chucking in the synth relay grenades he had picked up in the Institute. This chaos helped him by clearing the way and making the Brotherhood think the Institute was attacking. But soon enough, it came down to Ricky to be the one to clear out the troops on the ship, including Paladin Nance, but he was impossible to kill, so Ricky simply moved on. He planted the explosive device after clearing out most of the troops, and also noticed that there were some children on the ship, squires the Brotherhood was training. Now, Ricky may be evil, but he isn't child killer evil, so he let them escape. This makes Ricky better than a certain defense force that may or may not begin with the letter I. Those kids must have taken the last vertibird, which meant that Ricky had to jump down to the airport, but thankfully that's what the power armor is for. Down here there were more soldiers to take out and bits of loot to grab. But making his way to his Nordhagen beach outpost, Ricky got to watch the fireworks as the Pribblin crashed down. And just like that, another threat had been eliminated from the Commonwealth. But not completely, as two of his outposts came under attack by Brotherhood forces. It seems they've uncovered Ricky's true identity too little too late. With only the Institute left to take out, Randy the regular guy became Ricky the Raider once more. The last time he was in the Institute, he did some sneaking around to find out there were some old sewers under CIT that led into the Institute's reactor. In this room, Ricky simply had to secure a bomb to the reactor core and fight off the few synths on this level. The Institute had become aware of his scheme, but before they could deploy their full force, Ricky teleported away. Ricky found himself atop the mass fusion building, with its great view of downtown Boston, which for some reason didn't load in properly. No matter, Ricky could still activate the bomb, and he and Ada watched as the Institute erupted into a pillar of fire.
I don't want to set the world on fire.
And that was it. He had done it. Ricky, once a lowly raider, had wiped out every faction in the Commonwealth who would oppose him. As he looked over the city, he realized that everything he could see belonged to him. All of it. So that, dear viewer, was the story of Ricky the Raider. For now, at least, though I'm not ruling out the possibility of him returning in the future. There's always more adventures to go on, so let's call this the Season 1 finale, alright? Anyway, I'd like to give credit to a couple of mods that made this series possible. The first being the mod Start Me Up, named after one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs. This allows you to play Fallout 4 as a character other than the sole survivor, which really opens up the roleplay opportunities in my opinion. The next mod is Diary of a Madman, which adds the quest to destroy all the factions by yourself. And check out the mod team behind that one. They have a few other mods that completely overhaul the story of Fallout 4. But for now, that's it for Ricky. More content on the way soon, probably Fallout 4 related, but I could also do other games like Skyrim or the Oblivion remake that just came out. I never played the original, but if there's enough interest I could buy that one to do a playthrough. Also, I'm considering taking the whole Ricky Raider series and editing it into one big video as like a full movie. So, yeah, leave a comment letting me know your thoughts, or how much you love Ricky, or ideas for future videos. Then leave a like on the video and subscribe to support me. Thanks for your time as always, and goodbye.
Come in, loosen up your tie.